Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 8 of the Unending Rebuild. Cannot believe we are already 8 episodes in.
Crazy.
Uh, a big enough number that we had to scroll back through and check that it was the 8th episode. So I think that's a milestone if I've ever heard one. As always, joining me is Josh Lee and Jared Perlman. Guys, say what's going on. How's it going?
Yo, what's up, guys? Super excited today for the 8th episode. Like Kai said, I can't believe it's already 8 episodes in. It's 2 months of work right there. But I'm excited. I'm excited today. A lot of stuff has been going on in training camp. This is one of my favorite times of the year when random hype trains just take off and there's just no end in sight for some of them. So really excited to get into some of the discussion today.
Yeah, me too. 8 episodes crazy, and now football's ramping up into training camp season. It's going to be fun. The season has officially started, I guess, with the Hall of Fame game, and we're getting ready to actually start the season. So we're going to keep it up and uh, keep trying to help you guys win your championships.
So today we will be getting into our news and notes section as always. And then we're going to jump into some bold predictions, some hot takes that we have for this upcoming year and how those bold predictions relate to your dynasty teams. So let's get into our news and notes first. The first thing we're going to be talking about is the Deontay Johnson contract extension. So admittedly, if you listen to last week's episode, this was not something that I thought was going to happen. I put Deontay Johnson as my wide receiver 4 as my prediction for 2023 for outlook of 2023. So I messed that one up. I thought he was going to be on the Packers or something like that, but nope, he is still with the Steelers. So, what do we think about this contract? Do you think he's just trying to get the bag in 2024? Do we think it's bad for his long-term outlook? What do y'all think?
I don't know. It seems to me like Deontay didn't really bet on himself here, because he took a smaller contract than Christian Kirk got this offseason. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me because I do think that Deontay Johnson is a much, much better receiver than Christian Kirk. So I'm surprised that he took a contract as small as he did. Um, so I'm excited to see what he can do this year because he's going to have to continue to produce at this elite level for him to receive that contract that you're talking about, guys, that second lucrative contract. But I'm curious to hear what Proman has to think too.
Yeah, I think he might be a little bit worried about the quarterback situation possibly. I mean, like Josh said, not betting on himself, it seems like, with another year to go on his contract and taking less money than some of these other guys out there. 2 years, clearly he wants to be able to get a new deal soon, but maybe he's worried that he wouldn't have the numbers that he's had in the past if they trot out Trubisky, Pickett, or even Mason Rudolph. So at least he got some good money for these next 2 years. He's getting paid, but yeah, I would have loved to see him go somewhere else or at least get some more money. But it is what it is.
Yeah, I actually think of it more as a long-term bet on himself. I'm thinking that he thinks that when he becomes a free agent, I think it's going to be in 2024, if I'm correct. I'm guessing he's thinking that the wide receiver market will be higher then, so he'd be able to still sign a long-term deal, but get more money because the cap will be higher then. Perhaps the market gets more out of whack, but it's also a bet against the market too. If he thinks that the market's only going to continue for wide receivers and it's not just like peaking right now, then he could have made a very big mistake. But like if I were him, I would have. I mean, it's understandable why he takes the extension now, because like y'all said, the quarterback situation isn't the best. And also you never know what's going to happen
Or
in football. You never know
yeah,
what's going to happen.
it's I don't know. I don't know how smart of a bet it is. Just because like the Steelers quarterback room just looks atrocious right now. Um, I'm hoping that Kenny Pickett can somehow actually be a good NFL quarterback, but from what I've seen so far, it does not look like that is the case. Um, and I hear Trubisky struggling, so like there's even talk of Mason Rudolph being the starter, and like that's probably like worst case scenario. If Mason Rudolph's the best quarterback in your quarterback room, something's wrong. But somehow Mike Tomlin will still find a way to win games. I mean, because Mason Rudolph was the starting quarterback, like 3-4 years ago, something like that. when Big Ben got hurt, and they still finished like 7-9. So I mean, just because like that, Mike Tomlin's a great coach. They always have a great defense, so I think they'll still win games.
They finished 8-8 because Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season.
Oh, you're right. Right.
Still,
That's
yeah,
right.
he is a dog. Like you said, don't bet against Mike Tomlin. But if they can't get him a quarterback, I'm not going to bet on him. So I think it's interesting. And Deontay is only 26 right now, so 2 years he'll be 28. He's still primed for another big contract, but this is right now the peak at least of what we've seen of the wide receiver market. So it's surprising he couldn't get more, but the Steelers also don't pay their wide receivers often. So it's just a little bit of how the NFL works right there.
Yeah, that's where I thought Deontay was going to be leaving because that's not what the Steelers do, you know. And then I guess they never really thought that Deontay would take this little amount of money. And you know, if I were someone who owned any shares of George Pickens, I'd be so annoyed right now. I mean, I still trust Pickens' talent, but I would just be frustrated because I would have definitely have taken that bet that Deontay Johnson would be leaving. So now he's the wide receiver 3 for the next, unless he can surpass Claypool. I think it would be a big ask to surpass Johnson, and he's the wide receiver 2 at best on an offense with questionable wide receivers. So you know, I don't know. I'm not loving that.
Questionable quarterbacks, but yeah, definitely.
Oh, did I say it was questionable receivers?
Yeah,
Oh.
he could pass Claypool maybe, but yeah, wide receiver 2 there, understood. Not the best situation for Pickens.
Guys, does your dynasty 2023 dynasty ranking of Deontay Johnson change now that he's staying in Pittsburgh?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I
Where
mean,
does
it
he move
drops out
now
of the top
to?
12.
Drops out of the top 12. Okay.
Yeah, 15 maybe.
That's
I
a
was
bold
just
take last week then,
I
huh?
was yeah, I was completely betting. I made that prediction the wrong week. But yeah, I was completely betting that he would go to a team like Green Bay or something like that that really needs a receiver that has a strong quarterback situation, and that has not happened. But let's move on from Deontay Johnson and we can move into Kareem Hunt. So Kareem Hunt has requested a trade out of Cleveland. Maybe he wants to get more opportunities someplace. You know, maybe he's realizing that the Browns probably won't be so good this year, depending on how much Deshaun Watson plays. Not really super sure. He is practicing still because he doesn't want to get fined at like whatever, like 50 grand a day. So I want to put too much stake in him still practicing. But what do we think? Do you think he actually gets that trade request? Are you all also praying like me that he doesn't end up on one of your team's roster, one of your running backs team's rosters? What are y'all thinking about that?
Yeah, I don't think Kareem Hunt is going to start the season on the Cleveland Browns. Like early on, I was saying that Kareem Hunt was a cut candidate, just because the Browns can save a ton of money against the cap.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Kareem Hunt. So I think if they're not able to find a trade, that the most logical thing for them to do is cut Kareem Hunt. I don't know the exact dollar figure that they can save against the cap, but I know it's pretty big. And they have Nick Chubb. They have Ernest Johnson, who has proven to be a more than serviceable back. They even have like Demetric Felton, who's like flashed at points. So like they have backs that they can lean on if they do let Kareem Hunt walk. In terms of like where he could go, it makes sense for him to go to somewhere that like doesn't have a great running back room. He'll get a lot of work in like Houston. He'll get a lot of work in Atlanta. That would suck for a lot of my Cordero shares, but like that's just how the NFL works sometimes. But if he's like more trying to go to like a contender, I don't know. There's a lot of interesting spots. It would be crazy if he went to like Buffalo. That would be nuts.
That would be RB1 right there.
I see him on the 49ers right there.
On the Niners?
Kareem there.
They don't pay their backs though, so they won't pay Kareem Hunt anything.
No, Kareem's not getting paid. Come on. He's not. I mean, no, I mean, he's not going to get a big contract at the start of the year. Like that's not what's about to happen. He's going to sign if he wants to, especially if he wants to go to contender. He gets a min contract, a vet min or something contract if he wants to win for 1 year. But I mean, I kind of think the Browns want him there. I think we'll see. I guess the Deshaun Watson situation is still pending, so he could come back. But I think the Browns like Kareem Hunt. Some of the analysts I was following have said that they think he's going to be a big part of their plans this year. they want him to be on their offense, and I mean we know he's a good running back, and he could go help a team uh, compete for a championship that doesn't have a solid running back core like Buffalo, like 49ers. And yeah, I mean at this point, I think we saw a lot of veterans last year kind of hold out until maybe a game or two into the season and then go find a place that needs a running back, and that's how they got paid. Um, I forgetting the Devontae Freeman. Maybe that was 2 years ago, actually. But anyway, they like running backs aren't going to get a big contract this close to the start of the year, and so if he wants to go to contender, I would like a spot like that. And yeah, we'll see what happens to him. But I think that the Browns want to keep him. But really, at this point, it's anybody's guess because of the talent they have there and the money they could save and the whole situation around Deshaun. So I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, one place that I was thinking would be really interesting if you were to land there. Now, I don't think this will happen. It's not been linked or anything, but would be the Chargers. I think that'd be super interesting. Get Eckler a bit less touches, get one more like um, exciting option in that offense while Herbert's still on that rookie deal. He's really good at receiving. So is Eckler. So you can like move Eckler out wide, Hunt in the backfield, both of them in the backfield, run the tackles a bit more. I mean, I don't think it would happen, but it would be super interesting to me.
Yeah, I agree. That would be a nice spot.
That would be RIP to Austin Eckler shares.
And
Going 6th overall right now, that would
that would tank them.
not look good. Okay, if Kareem Hunt does go to the Chargers, where are you comfortable drafting Austin Eckler? First round still?
I think it's a 1-2 turn. I think he would still
1-2
get.
turn?
I think he would still get a solid amount of touches, and I think
Eckler
Eckler's skill set,
or
I think, would be fine in a committee. I still think he would do really well.
Austin Eckler or Joe Mixon?
That's
like the 1-2 turn.
I mean, I think with that becomes about draft strategy.
Well,
you want someone that has floor or ceiling. So floor, Mixon. I'd probably Mixon.
Mixon over Eckler if Kareem goes there. Eckler or DeAndre Swift?
No, that's tough. Swift scares me a little bit with injury
history. I
history.
Swift if Kareem goes.
Yeah, I think I would. I think I would.
Okay, then
would be
Eckler
so
or
good
Saquon?
Oh, Saquon's RB1 this year, so Saquon.
So it sounds like Eckler's falling to like the mid to late second round.
Maybe. We'll have to see. I mean, I think Eckler, he's still going to get the receptions regardless if Kareem's there or not. So, I mean, I wouldn't be super concerned. I think they'd even use him in the receiving game a bit more because he wouldn't have to do that hard work in between the tackles.
Fair enough.
Cool. All right, well, let's move past these two segments and into our third, which will just be some general training camp, Hall of Fame game news and notes. Just who's getting the hype? Is the hype warranted? What do we think about that? So we got guys like Romeo Doubs, Isaiah Pacheco, that every time you like open up Twitter or whatever, you see that all of a sudden Isaiah Pacheco is now like RB1 and wide receiver 1, or you'll see that like Romeo Doubs is like the new Randy Moss or whatever it may be.
Hey, Sky Moore is also taking backfield touches.
Yeah. Oh, is he? Is Darwin Thompson back yet?
In the form of Isaiah Pacheco, he might be.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. I mean, good for Pacheco for making this noise, but I mean, he's a 7th round running back. I mean, and I don't know. I don't even know what to think about this. I mean, I get that it's exciting that he could be a good running back on the Chiefs. I get that, and I think he's obviously warranting a roster spot. And like, I would trade like a 3rd round pick for the guy, but like, I don't think it's much more than that.
Yeah, I think he definitely earns a roster spot just because he's flashed so much. It's rare that guys that's like been all in the news like this doesn't make a roster. But he was actually a decent prospect. I think. What school did he go to? He went to a school with a red jersey.
Was it Rutgers?
It was Rutgers. Yeah. And he was actually pretty good last season. He just slipped in the draft a little bit due to injury concerns. But he's like a big back. He's fast. So So like he could definitely be kind of like a between the tackles kind of runner who can like catch passes out of the backfield every now and then. But yeah, I don't think he's too much more other than kind of like a third guy on the depth chart kind of thing.
Yeah, we'll see him make the roster. They've said he's maybe the best punt returner they've got sitting there right now at the end of the roster. So, that always bodes well for young guys getting more touches. But he's not. I don't think he's taking Clyde's job this year or
No,
next year.
definitely.
But he could definitely be a compliment because he is big. He's bigger than Clyde. He's fast. He ran like a 4.37. So good for him making the roster and making some noise, and hopefully maybe he'll even be the 2 there because nobody likes Ronald Jones. And yeah,
Hey, come on. He just needs his chance. He just needs his chance.
Oh, you're still in on the Rojo train?
Just because I own him, that's all. I mean, I think realistically, there's a chance he can get like the short yardage work. Maybe some first down. I think it's just going to be a mess. I think he'll probably get like a third of the snaps or something like that. I don't really know. It's going to be chaos in that backfield. That's another reason why I'm not even that concerned about Pacheco, because unless he like runs away with it, there's just so many people there. But we can go ahead and move past Pacheco and go into a little bit of Romeo Dubs. As a Christian Watson owner, it's like a knife to the heart every time I hear that Romeo Dubs is just like the best wide receiver in the NFL. I was so happy. Like this is getting so bad that today I saw the tweets about like Jair Alexander strapping him, and I was like, "Let's go, he's trash." And I'm like, Jair, so. Like I'm like clinging on to anything that this guy's not good, and that Christian Watson can come back from his little like holiday with the knee surgery and show out in camp. And like it's gotten to the point where I'm just like, well, yeah, Jair Alexander's good, but like all the other defensive backs are bad. That's why he's doing well. So it's not been a good couple weeks for me in that regard.
Hey, as a Romeo Dubs owner, I personally am loving it, and I love to see that Jair's is getting in his face, talking a little trash, introducing him to the NFL style. Him and Rodgers clearly see that there's some promise in the young man, so that's hype. Yeah, for me, I'm loving that training camp hype.
The moments that I took Watson and then saw you took Dubs in the third round, I was like, he's a Hall of Famer. Dubs is a Hall of Famer. That's what did it. That's what did it.
Yep, I traded Kai's that pick right there because I was like, I don't need it. Go take Christian Watson in the first. Go take my pick. I'm gonna take the better receiver in the third. And here we go. It's starting early.
Was that with my third
and it's going to
too?
be often. No, it wasn't with your third. With your third,
at
I
least
took
it wasn't
Jalen
my
Tolbert, but
It's still a good pick.
he's about to ball out too. My third rounds go off. I don't need first round picks.
Hey, my third round was Zamir, so I think we probably had the best three third round picks.
Yeah.
The
Keep
draft.
telling yourself that, dude. My thirds are clearly they're going to the moon. Training camp studs all around, and that's all I care about at the beginning of the year. Training camp before the season actually starts. Don't worry about what actually happens later. But no, I'm hyped for Dubs. I'm glad that he's balling, and if Rodgers likes him early, he's got a good chance. That's a wide open wide receiver depth chart. I don't even think Josh mentioned Dubs last time a few weeks ago when we talked about that position group. So there's plenty of space for him to come in and sneak some targets and yards. So
Jared, what would be the least value that you would trade away to give away Dubs? Or sorry, what would be the least value you'd receive to give away Dubs?
I mean, right now, like I don't really see a point in trading Dubs because like nobody's gonna offer me like even a second probably for him, and I don't even think I would take a second at this point. You might as well
take a second.
Oh,
the hype is real.
I mean, if it was an early second, obviously, I'm taking an early second next year. But like, if it's like one of those contenders, fuck it. Like, I'm not just gonna bet on a guy next year, a random like late second next year over a guy who now has Aaron Rodgers, and his value could skyrocket. Who knows? But
You're not taking a late second for Romeo Dubs?
I'm not taking a late second.
Really, in 2023? Wow, that's surprising.
I drafted him.
The hype's got him. The hype's got him.
I think there's a real. I have no idea what Josh just said, but I think there's a real chance that Dubs is worth more than that come the end of the year. I mean, I think there's a very, very real chance. Why not?
Yeah, no, it's just the hype's so much fun, and like you can't trade the guy away.
Exactly.
You would like you would just be kicking yourself forever if he turned out to be something.
Gotta
It's
trust your
part of the
guys.
game. Part of the
Gotta
game.
trust your guys.
It's part of the game.
Yep. I'm not doing it.
All right. Well, let's move past our news and notes section here, and we can get into some of our hot takes, our bold takes, the big things that we got going on. We're going to have a handful of these lined up. We'll probably try to get through a good chunk of them. I think we're planning on doing about 3 each or so that's pretty solid. So, Jared, do you want to get into your first bold prediction?
As a matter of fact, I would love to get into my first bold prediction because we've basically been talking about it, guys. Because my first bold prediction is that Romeo Doubs is the Packers' leading receiver. And I do want to caveat that with my
Uh,
hot take that I'm
uh,
saying not named Aaron Jones because I do think Aaron Jones might have 1,000 yards this
that's
year.
fair.
But last year, Devontae
Hey, man.
Adams, hey, Josh.
Hey.
Josh, you're just in time to listen to Jared defend why Romeo Doubs will be the
Yeah.
Packers.
Shut up. I'm not gonna say it again. I'm gonna say it again.
Let me hear it. Let me
So,
hear it from you.
so my first hot take, we were just talking about it, guys. Let me skip or start off. Is Romeo Doubs is the Packers' leading receiver this year,
Is the leading receiver.
and I wanted to caveat that with not named Aaron Jones, but I also don't want to caveat that because I also believe in him. But
Is the leading receiver.
Leading
on the Packers,
receiver.
yes. So last year, Devontae Adams had
Bro, we said
1,500
bold
yards.
takes, not
Yeah, bold takes.
Leading receiver.
0% chance not gonna happen takes.
How is there zero? Alan Lazard last year, 500 yards. Marquez Valdez-Scantling was the number 3 receiver behind Devontae, who's now gone, and Alan Lazard with 430. Aaron Jones, 391. That's all the yardage he had last year. Randall Cobb, 375. AJ Dillon, 313. Nobody on this team had over 513 besides Devontae Adams last year. This is a wide open depth chart. And Aaron Rodgers has already shown that he likes the young kid. And if he gets on the field with all these players out during training camp, he's just going to keep getting more confident. And yeah, I mean, if the number ones are guarding Alan Lazard, he's not getting open. The number 1 corners, come on. And who else is up there? Aaron Rodgers loves Randall Cobb, but I mean, 45-year-old Randall Cobb's not leading this team in receiving.
No.
Aaron Jones, sure, there's a good chance Aaron Jones balls out, has over 1,000 yards, but last year 391, he wasn't even close. I mean, I know we love the uptick in yards, and we're projecting the uptick in targets, but there's a real chance that Doubs steps in here and is the leading receiver. If you're projecting Christian Watson to be the leading receiver, there's no reason Doubs couldn't be that too.
What's Doubs' stat line in this scenario?
I mean, in this scenario, he probably reaches like 900 yards, and it's a spread the ball around kind of season. And maybe Aaron Jones does have 1,100 yards through the air, something like that. But they run the ball a ton. Both him and Dillon have over 1,000 yards on the ground. And then yeah, they spread the ball. Tunyon, he's not a yardage receiver. He could still have 10 touchdowns and not have even 600 yards. And yeah, Lazard maybe has 700-800, and he's just a little bit past. Doubs, that's my bold take. He has the chance. He's getting the hype, and he could lead this team in receiving yards.
He could, I guess. I mean, I don't like hate it. He is getting hype, I mean, it's bold. It's bold. It is.
It's very
but
bold.
yeah,
I think the Kool-Aid.
It's bold.
Yeah. I mean, I try not to make too many big decisions on training camp hype. I mean, even though you're not making a decision, so yeah, I like it. Let's do it. Romeo Doubs, leading receiver for the Packers. I'm on board.
Where are you guys drafting?
Why not? Why not?
Where are you guys drafting him?
Yeah, I want to hear what Jared's drafting.
I mean, I'm still drafting him in like the 13th, 14th round. I mean, why would I draft him before that? That's where he's going.
No, what if he continues to rise? Like, let's say the training camp buzz continues to build.
The earliest I would ever draft
him. His buzz built up so high that he went in the 4th round of redraft leagues in that season. Let's say Romeo Doubs draft type pushes him up to like the 5th, 6th round. Are you taking him there?
I mean, so first of all, that would have to like the only way that would happen is if he balled out in preseason.
Yeah, he
And if
just
I'm
goes
sitting
ham in
there and
preseason.
watching in
Yeah.
preseason and he's playing with the ones and he's like racking up like 3 targets on the first drive, like all 3 games, like you can I'm taking him in like the 6th round, like at least, like, and he's not getting pushed up earlier than that. If he's balling and and his preseason, like Aaron Rodgers is playing with
Victor Cruz
him
style?
and targeting him and he's making the plays.
Yeah.
I'm taking him.
Jared, question. If someone offered you 1-for-1 Dubs for Jahan Dotson, are you taking Dotson or are you keeping Dubs?
Dude, Jahan. Oh, that's like such a tough question. I'm taking Jahan, I guess, just because I have to. Just because I have to, because you guys
Because he
will
has
roast me.
to.
You guys will absolutely kill me.
That's why I
Nah.
picked that question.
Yeah,
An
I know.
underwhelming first round pick versus
Yeah.
Romeo Dubs is perfect.
No, dude, Jahan is like I mean,
Almost
yeah.
got him, Josh. I almost got him.
I thought he
You
would be a
almost
fun
did.
sleeper,
A
but
lot of
the fucking
podcasts.
Commanders, dude, not the Commanders, man. Don't make me do it.
All right. Well,
Let's see what you guys got. Yeah.
I will go ahead here with my bold prediction, and I am going to say that by the end of this year, a particular wide receiver who was a rookie last year will end up being considered a top 18 wide receiver in Dynasty Fantasy Football, and that receiver is Kadarius Toney.
Okay.
I think the talent is amazing. I think he's really a good player. I think that right now a part of his stock being a bit lower is due to some of those weird personality concerns, which I think are overblown as they typically are. And I think when people make decisions off that, you miss opportunities for talent. And we talk about wide receivers that have these issues all the time. We know he's an electric athlete. His yards after the catchability last year was amazing, and the little bit that he played, which is just the best for fantasy football, as we know. And a lot of this decision making is coming off some more predictive factors, while also some statistical based on the body of work he had last year. So for statistical, last year he was 17th in yards run per route, despite being 69th in target accuracy. So not getting great targets, but getting great yards per route run. He also had 18th in win rate versus man coverage, 12th in separation versus man, and 5th in target rate versus man. So he's getting open, and they're throwing him the ball in those scenarios. And being a rookie, I think those are really great numbers. Again, small sample size, but he had that injury. And I think also when you consider how bad the quarterback play is, you have to factor that in as well as to why some of his numbers weren't so great. Now, we look at the team factor. So obviously, like I've mentioned, Daniel Jones is bad. He's not a good quarterback. But what I think that means is at the end of this year, the Giants could be in a pole position to get a good rookie quarterback, one of those top rookies in the class upcoming. And that will produce some hype for Toney if they get one of those top quarterbacks. It'll be an upgrade from Jones. I mean, hopefully, that's kind of what this prediction is based upon. But also, Dabble will be looking to implement an offense where they'll throw the ball a lot. And I just think Kadarius Toney really projects well into that system. I think someone like Wandale will be a bit more of like the underneath guy. Kadarius can be a bit more downfield. And I think Galladay is just aging and isn't as good anymore and won't be as big as a factor. So I think if these things align, the Giants getting a new, better quarterback, strong arm, Kadarius staying healthy, and being able to produce at similar rates with likely a better quarterback and continue to use that athletic ability to really gain those plus fantasy points. I really think that people come next year about this time are going to be realizing that those factors are all converging on this scenario. I don't expect Kadarius to do great this year, maybe like 700-800 yards receiving, but I think that'll be enough to warrant the buzz.
Yeah, well, I'm a big fan of Kadarius Toney. What's his nominal yards per route run? I know you said he was 18th in the NFL. Is it over 2?
I don't have that on me.
Oh, you don't have
I pulled up. Yeah, I don't have the page pulled up. I just had a Google Doc open.
If I remember correctly, I think it's 2.03. And that was actually like the highest out of all of the rookies last season. Although it was only in like a very small sample because it was only played in 3 games. It was actually number 1 out of all rookies last year, including like Jamar Chase, Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddle. So he like hits that threshold where you want like elite receivers to hit. So I'm a big fan of this take. I'm a big fan of Kadarius Toney. The one thing, like, I mean, you prefaced it at the very beginning, like the one thing holding him back is he's kind of a bonehead where he does like stupid things, like throw punches on the field against someone's helmet. He's going to like break his hand or something.
That's what I want out of my receivers. That's what I want.
I'd argue there's 2 things because he also has a quarterback that's holding him back. But that said, I was also thinking about doing Kadarius bold take, and I figured that top 12 is too bold and top 24 is not bold enough. So you killed it, guys. Right in the middle.
I was going to do top 24, and then right before I presented, I was like, nah, top 18.
Yeah, I mean, I like Kadarius. I think your scenario is exactly what happens, and that's what I hope happens, except not really because I hate the Giants. But I think Daniel Jones is going to be the worst starting quarterback in the league this year, and they're going to be in a good position to get a new quarterback, and they will upgrade with basically anyone that they could choose down there. So hopefully Kadarius is able to improve, and the fantasy community is probably going to recognize that, but he's going to have a good enough season where he stays healthy and on the field this year to do that. But he has the talent. He's just got to stop being stupid and stay healthy.
Yeah, completely agree. I just see a route there for it to happen. And that was enough for me to make this my bold take.
Yeah, all the talent in the world. I love it.
Awesome. All right. Josh, you want to go ahead with your first bold prediction?
Yeah. Okay, so for my bold prediction, it is less so of like a lower guy rising up, but it's my bold take is Justin Jefferson will outscore Cooper Kupp's 2021 season. He's going to have more points
than crazy.
Cooper Kupp did last year.
Whoa. What's the stat line looking like?
My prediction for his stat line?
Yeah.
145 receptions. So 191 targets, exactly the same that Cooper Kupp had last season. 145 receptions, same amount of receptions that Cooper Kupp had last season. 2,166 yards and 13 touchdowns. That'll put him at 442 PPR points, just over Cooper Kupp's 439 PPR points last year.
What's the way NFL record for receiving yards in a season?
I think so, yeah.
Wow. Okay, go for it.
The way that I got there, okay? So last year, I mean, there were a couple things. So probably the thing that like started this entire analysis was the fact that Kevin O'Connell from the Rams, who just coached or designed, orchestrated this Cooper Kupp record-breaking year, has just gone from the Rams to the Vikings. So now, instead of having Matthew Stafford, he has Kirk Cousins. To me, they are pretty similar talents. If we look at the actual stats, like Matt Stafford last year, 404 completions off 601 attempts, 4,800 passing yards, 41 touchdowns. Kirk Cousins last year, 372 completions for 561 attempts, 4,200 yards, 33 touchdowns. So we are expecting the passing volume to go up in the Minnesota Vikings offense. Dalvin Cook is in camp, is even being split out wide. Like there's going to be a huge opening of the passing game. They're going to have a bunch of 3 wide receiver sets. I think the reports are saying right now, when they're running out their offense, almost 100% of the plays are in 3 wide receiver sets with Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, and KJ Osborne. So they're going to pass a ton. So Kirk Cousins' volume is going to go up. I have projected up for like a 10% bump in volume. So let's say when I do give him that 10% bump in volume, that puts him almost exactly on in the same stat line as Matthew Stafford from last year, with 600 pass attempts, 400 completions, 4,800 passing yards, and I have him at 38 touchdowns, just under Matthew Stafford's 41 touchdowns. So last year, Justin Jefferson had a 29% target share. I'm expecting him to make that year 3 jump. I know he's been incredible, but he's going to improve even further than he has been before. So he's going to go from that 29% target share to Cooper Kupp's target share last season of 31. And that will get him that 191 targets, though 145 receptions, 2,100 yards, and 13 touchdowns. The way that I got to the actual yardage was last year, Justin Jefferson had 167 targets on 108 receptions. I'm expecting him to get that similar bump because the entire passing volume is going to bump up. So Justin Jefferson goes to 191 targets. His receptions increase because I'm expecting his catch rate to improve a little bit. And then the yardage, it was actually the exact same yards per catch from last season, just applied to next season. He had 15 yards per catch. So 15 yards times 145, that gets us to just over 2,100 yards. So what say you? Justin Jefferson, wide receiver 1, record-breaking year.
I almost picked KJ Osborne for this very reason, because of those 3 wide receiver sets and with Kevin O'Connell. But yeah, I mean, I can't argue with the greatness of Justin Jefferson. Will they actually carve out a similar Cup-like role? They definitely could. Yeah, no, I like this, especially since I think Cup's role is also kind of aligned with the idea about Robert Woods' injury, and just because they don't really have in their running game being not that good. But I think since the Vikings running game is a bit better, it might not require the need for a Cooper Kupp role, which I'm wondering. But then again, it works anyway. And Justin Jefferson's a dynamic athlete. So I don't see why they wouldn't do it if they're able to replicate it.
In terms of the rushing, so last year, the Rams had 420 rushing attempts on the ground. The Vikings had 450. So it wasn't that drastic of an increase.
Not necessarily just numbers. I'm thinking just efficiency as well. They have a better running game, so therefore they didn't need to do as many passes like the ones they gave Kupp.
Yeah.
Just spamming him with targets.
That's very fair. I mean, last year, Vikings were definitely more efficient on the ground. They had 1,900 rushing yards to the Rams 1,600. They both had 10 touchdowns on the ground. So,
yeah, if it works, it works.
Last year, he was a little bit hurt, banged up. So maybe that's not the best comparison to use, but still.
No, it's a bold prediction. I mean, I think it still works for sure.
It's a bold prediction, for sure. I mean, anytime you say that a guy is going to be better than a guy who led the league in catches and receiving yards and what was it, touchdowns too, right? Or catches, receiving yards, and
it might have been touchdowns. He might have had the Triple Crown.
Yeah. I mean, he had the Triple Crown or something. I just can't remember what the third one was. But anyway,
that makes sense. 16's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, that's just bold. I don't see it. I love Justin Jefferson. I do think he's the best receiver in the league right now, but that's just insane. Before Cooper Kupp last year, Kupp scored 439.5 PPR points. The wide receiver 1 every year averaged closer to 370. The wide receiver 1 overall, Michael Thomas had 379, I think. The year he had 171 receptions.
It was all slants.
And they were all slant. I mean, don't get me wrong, they weren't long.
Justin Jefferson's all flies.
And yeah, Justin Jefferson, I loved how all of your stats for him are going to increase, except his yards per catch at 15, because that's already insane.
Yeah.
So
he's just so good.
It's bold to ask a guy to increase all of his stats, but it's year 3, and year 3 guys, that's when receivers have historically taken their jump. So there's a chance. But to go to if he has that season next year, where is he just going to keep getting better? Is he just going to have that?
Yeah, he's going to have 3,000 next year and then 4,000 next.
Yeah, every year he's setting the NFL record in every category that is known to receivers. So I mean, I guess there's a chance, but I like that. I like KJ Osborne. I think he's a decent receiver. I think that I don't know. I'm mixed on Adam Thielen. He's obviously a great receiver. And if he still has it, then he's going to still take up a decent share of the targets. He normally does. I think about 20% of the targets at least go there, maybe even 25%. And so I think it's going to be tough for Justin Jefferson to garner even more. And I think Kai's is right. They're going to run the ball better than the Rams did. Also, Matthew Stafford is better than Kirk Cousins. Shut up. I forgot about that. Matthew Stafford is objectively better than Kirk Cousins. Their talent might be somewhat comparable because Kirk is good, but Stafford is absolutely better than Kirk Cousins.
I think it's pretty close, though.
It's closer than I would argue, though.
For our purposes, I think it's way closer than for like actual football purposes.
Yeah, Stafford's definitely the better football player, like 100%.
Yeah.
But for fantasy, I would say they're pretty comparable.
I mean,
Like
it's just hard, but in terms of actual football, like to be I mean, you need to put it on the money. You need to put it like in stride. You need to put
it. A very accurate quarterback. Like he's a little bit of a bonehead, and he isn't clutch whatsoever. But in terms of actually passing the ball, he's a talented quarterback.
Yeah, but you need to score all the touchdowns. Like you need to score all that stuff to like be better. You need everything.
Jefferson had 10 last year.
Not 16 though. To have a historic season, 13. Like you need, I don't know, you need everything to go right. It's tough.
If I'm a Justin Jefferson owner though, I'm not really caring if Kirk Cousins throws like a fourth quarter interception. You know, like but all right, we all move to our next one.
Yeah, let's do it.
Jared, you want to run it back?
Yeah. I'll hear it from you guys again.
Oh no!
Right. This time, just get a little warmed up. So,
oh man, I love it.
I'm predicting a trio of 1,000-yard receivers from an offense that you'll never ever predict. The New England Patriots. Trio of 1,000-yard receivers from Devontae Parker, Jacoby Myers, and Kendrick Bourne. All three of them are hitting 1,000 yards. I said it. So last year, Jacoby Myers had 866 yards on 83 receptions and 126 targets. I expect Jacoby Myers' targets to actually come down. 126 is quite a few. I'd project somewhere around 115, with probably a similar amount of catches, maybe 80 to 85, and hitting just about that 1,000-yard mark. Kendrick Bourne last year had 70 targets and 55 receptions for 800 yards. 55 receptions, 800 yards. I know that's not 1,000. It's not there, but that was his first season in the offense. He was fairly underutilized. He had a 14.5% yards per reception, 5 touchdowns, and he was also used in the run game. They like to put him in the backfield, and they like to get him on the field. He's quick, he's fast, and he's big, and he's proven that he's reliable. He doesn't fumble the ball, and he gets on the field. Last year, the third leading receiver in New England was Hunter Henry, and he only had 603 yards. Now, that's not a ton. And Mac Jones only had 3,800 yards last year. So if three receivers have 3,000 yards apiece, there's only 800 yards to go around in the whole rest of the offense. That said, I think Mac Jones takes a step up this year. I think Mac Jones has about 4,200 yards this year. So that's an increase of about 400, maybe even 500 yards this year. And if there's a more targeted alpha receiver or even number 2 or 3 in Devontae Parker, he can really step up that Nelson Aguilar role where he had only 473 yards on 37 catches. But a guy like him, Devontae Parker, has shown that he's also kind of a longer yards per reception player. And he can step into a role where if Bill puts all three of them on the field, they could all see 1,000 yards because all three of them have different consistent roles, where Jacoby's going to be that underneath reliable guy. Kendrick is a gadget guy who's also a decently good at a decently good route runner, like over across the field and deep route runner. And then Devontae Parker can do it all as that third guy who is kind of their number one receiver. He's going to see a ton of targets, but so is Jacoby, and I think Kendrick can sneak in there. Already at 800 yards last year. I mean, it kind of leaves Hunter Henry out of the mix, but I think Hunter Henry can still get a ton of touchdowns there near the goal line. Mac loves him there, but he's not a big yardage guy. And without somebody like James White and now Brandon Bolden also gone, Brandon Bolden had 400 yards last year. He was one of their top 5 receivers. Without him gone, Bill has not shown that he trusts either of the running backs there to catch the ball. And if he doesn't put Ramondre out there or Damian out there to catch the ball, that just goes more to the receivers. And that's what I'm going with. Three receivers in New England with 1,000 yards. Let me hear it.
Okay, a few thoughts. Well, my first thing, I like you thinking that Mac Jones is going to take the step. I agree with that. I think Mac Jones will take the step as well. I don't know how much additional passing volume there will be, just because like Bill Belichick just loves to run the ball. So like they're going to use Ramondre, they're going to use Damian Harris. They drafted what, 3 running backs? I think it was actually 2, but still, like they have like a 5 running back backfield right now.
Yeah,
they're gonna pound the ball on the ground. I like Devontae Parker and Jacoby Myers, the 1-2. I think Hunter Henry is going to see more work than you're expecting, because last year
Hunter Henry already had 75 targets last year. Hunter Henry had 75, which is more than Kendrick Bourne, but he was really only used in the red zone for the most part. I mean, he was short yardage and didn't see the yards necessary.
How many yards did he have last year?
He had 600 on 50 catches, so not bad, but
1,000, 2,600, and then Kendrick for 1,000. That's 36. Okay, I guess I don't know.
And then if you project another 700 yards in the offense to go to the rest of the players, they don't have that much volume to those outer players in New England. It's pretty concentrated.
I like it just because like I feel like each one of those receivers are just good enough to get like 1,000 yards.
Exactly.
Yeah, they'll get like
no one would get any more.
Exactly.
So it's not like because the offense is like great. It's just because they're just good enough that they're going to like just spread the ball around equally to those guys. I mean, I question Devontae Parker's ability to stay healthy. But
if he does stay healthy, guys, what?
And we are here to be bold.
Yeah,
the bold take here is Devontae Parker staying healthy. But yeah, I mean, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
What was Kendrick Bourne's yards per catch last year? It must be
14.5, dude. It was really good. Yeah.
Damn. Yeah. He just catches those fly balls, so he's just fast as hell.
Yeah, he's quick. They got him in space a lot, and they liked him. They put him out there and got him the ball when he was open.
You don't have Tyquan Thornton in there at all?
I mean, Tyquan's gonna see those flies, but I don't trust him to, really take time away from those 3 guys.
Work at all?
He only get 950 yards.
Yeah, he might, but we'll see. I don't think he's as good as Kendrick Bourne, and so it's up to Bill. But I think that Kendrick showed last year. I mean, he was very good on limited really chances. I mean, he had a decent amount of like 75 targets, but he was good, 800 yards.
Okay. I have Kendrick personally. I have Kendrick as a regression candidate, but it seems like you have him as a positive regression sort of candidate, where he's going to score more points or have more yards or so.
Yeah, I mean, there's more competition there, but if Mac takes a step and he has a same or similar role, there's a chance, and that's why we're here to be bold.
Okay, yeah, I like the bold take. I'm
gonna be rooting for that so hard.
I would have never thought I got this reception. I thought I was gonna get torn apart. I mean, I'll take it.
We're here to be bold.
What do you think the Patriots' record is this season?
I actually looked at their schedule, and this also kind of helped me because their schedule is pretty easy in the beginning of the year, but then every team they play has fantastic offenses. Like they play the Bengals, the Bills,
they got to air it out.
And they play the Browns. They play at the end of the year, I think. So they're gonna have to air it out. I think they maybe play the Chiefs too. So it's gonna be tough. They're gonna have a tough schedule after their bye, and it's gonna see what they're made of. So I don't know. I don't want to take a guess on their schedule or on their record just because their schedule is tough, but that's what I see. A lot of passing there at the end of the year.
Okay. I like that.
Cool. Yeah, like it too. All right, I'll move into my next bold prediction here. This one has to deal with some negative regression, and this take here is going to be that Jonathan Taylor finishes as a lower end running back 1. I mean, this is nothing to do with Jonathan Taylor as the player or any talent. He's obviously an amazing player. And being a lower end RB1 isn't even that bad, obviously. But I think he's definitely due for some regression. I was looking at some interesting stats that I found about him, and specifically his touchdown regression. So last year he had 18 touchdowns. And he got those 18 touchdowns on 85 red zone rush attempts and 26 rushes within the 5-yard line, which are just insane numbers that he had that many. So the NFL leader in those categories over the last however many years has averaged 60 red zone touches, so 60 to his 85, and then 20 carries inside the 5 to his 26. So he got unprecedented usage. The only other running back that's had over 75 red zone attempts, he was the only running back that's had 75 red zone attempts in a single year since Larry Johnson in 2006. So like this is not normal. This is not common. And the reason for this is because Carson Wentz is a bum. They didn't trust him in the red zone. They wanted to run it a lot, and they did so. And Jonathan Taylor's good, and it worked. But now they have Matt Ryan coming in. He is a much better quarterback to Carson Wentz, and they're going to trust him way more to throw the ball in the red zone. I think Pittman, like we've talked about, is going to take a step this year, so they'll trust him more. I think they love Mo Alley Cox in the red zone, and he's going to be the tight end one. And I think also with Jonathan Taylor, he doesn't get used in the receiving game a whole lot, not as much as you see out of some of these RB1s that really stay like those true dynamic players, like the Christian, like think like a Christian McCaffrey, like a transcendent RB1. They don't really use him as much. I think he had like 40 catches last year, and about the same as Nyheim Hines. There's already talk about them wanting to use Hines a bit more, and in the receiving game. So maybe they take some of that away. I mean, maybe Hines plays in the slot too, sure, but that's possible. But I think that at least limits Taylor's receiving ceiling. And lastly, I just think the Colts are going to be a much better team this year with Matt Ryan, and they're not going to feel as much of a need to just run him into the ground. You know, they're not going to need to like run him as much as they did last year, and especially with how effective their run blocking is with their offensive line. I I think you could put most running backs back there, and they would at least do a serviceable job, a serviceable enough job that you don't have to destroy Taylor's body through the 17-game regular season and arrive at the playoffs with him having 350 carries. So I just think that he's due for a bit of regression. He'll still be very good, but just some regression.
So you want to know something crazy, guys? I'm on NFL.com looking at rushing player stats in 2021. Jonathan Taylor had 14 rushing touchdowns of over 20 yards. So all that usage inside the red zone, and he was balling from outside 20 yards. He had his longest touchdown of the year was 83 yards.
He had
But
14 rushing touchdowns out of 20 yards.
that's what it says. Yeah, I was actually,
Oh,
I was pretty shocked. I had to double
He
check
didn't
it here
convert very
myself.
well inside the five.
Yeah. So
Jonathan Taylor is just he's baited me here.
yeah, those red zone touches.
Thought I had some good stats.
I mean, I think that we could be in
I mean,
for
I
some
also
positive
would
regression there, but
I would also say that that's probably not going to happen again. That he has 14
yeah,
touchdowns
that's
of
pretty
20 yards
insane.
plus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But he's
So
just a beast.
everything's unprecedented.
He had 7 the year before. So I think it's it's clear that he is
He'll come
very
in
good,
between.
and he can do that. But I do think the rest. I wasn't trying to completely shit on you, because I do think you're right. He may regress just due to the fact that Carson Wentz is not nearly the quarterback that Matt Ryan is. But Matt Ryan does like to check down to his running backs a lot, and I think, like you said, Jonathan Taylor didn't get as much receiving work as you would normally think from a running back one overall. I think it was like 20% of his points came from receiving work, which was like the lowest percent from running back one overall in like the last 10 or so years. So he just is a monster on the ground. He had 1,800 yards and 18 touchdowns on the ground. That's a lot of points. But I mean, he might not be the number one overall, but I don't see him dropping out of the top 6 in any chance, and I don't really see him dropping out of the top 5 or even 3. But I do. I mean, he could definitely come back a little bit down to earth because of some of those stats you listed and things we just saw. But personally, with a better team, I expect them to score more. And Matt Ryan does like to check it down. Not that Carson Wentz doesn't, because Carson Wentz can't throw the ball either. But I think that I couldn't see Jonathan Taylor dropping out of the top 5. Not with a better offense. What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, I think Jonathan Taylor. I like the stats that you bring up, guys, but I think Jonathan Taylor is a lock for a top 5 running back. I mean, the way that I think about it is Matt Ryan just kind of elevates this entire offense, where teams have to respect the pass a little bit more. So that's going to open up rushing lanes a little bit more for Jonathan Taylor. And like, it's not like he scored an insane amount of touchdowns on he had 1,800 rushing yards and 18 rushing touchdowns. So he had a rushing touchdown every 100 rushing yards, and I feel like that's pretty standard. That's not some absurd number. So I see like that number like being pretty stable. I think the entire Colts offense is going to score more touchdowns in general. So I think he could put up like a similar stat line as to last season. Maybe the rushing yards comes down a little bit. Maybe the rushing touchdowns comes down a little bit too. But I think he'll still be a top 5 running back just because he was like the far and away number 1 running back this past season. But like if Christian McCaffrey stays healthy, if Alvin Kamara gets that work, Najee Harris gets a ton of work, Austin Eckler. I mean, all
Derek, don't disrespect Derek.
Henry,
The far and away one before he got hurt.
Derek Henry.
Yeah.
Derek Henry was like
yards. Far and away above before Jonathan Taylor was the far and above.
Yeah, that's
so,
facts.
Yeah.
I love Derek Henry this year. I'm excited to see him play.
Part of my reasoning with the Jonathan Taylor thing too is I think also so many running backs were hurt last year. I mean, I know that always happens, but I think that really allowed him to be by far and away the RB1. So, I just a bold take. And do I think he should be the consensus number 1 overall in redraft? No.
Who are you taking 101, guys? If you have the 101 pick.
CMC, you got to go for that. I mean, if you can get like 30 points a game out of your running back, you got to take that chance every time.
Yep. I like it. Same here.
All right. Well, let's move on to our next bold take. We'll have Josh with his second.
Okay. So I've always had this thought, but I actually got some of my data from Reddit. So I'm going to give a quick shout out to Roberto Medeiros on Reddit. Username I am Hadrix. But my second bold take is that T. Higgins will outscore Jamar Chase this year in fantasy football. So I did a little bit of analysis on top of what Roberto provided me. So last year, Jamar and T played in 14 games together. They evenly split who scored more fantasy points. In 7 games, T scored more. In 7 games, Jamar scored more. Last year, Jamar earned 7.53 targets a game. T earned 7.86 targets a game. Jamar caught 4.76 receptions a game. T caught 5.29 receptions a game. The difference, Jamar caught 13 touchdowns. T caught 6. So there's a very real chance here that T could score more points this year than Jamar. Last year, Jamar averaged just under 18 fantasy points a game. T averaged just under 16 fantasy points a game, and we can account that difference just for the touchdowns. And touchdowns, it's hard to predict which wide receiver is going to get them. So I think that there's a very real chance here where T could definitely outscore Jamar. And so that makes T just like such an insane value in all of Dynasty right now, and in redraft and in best ball. In every single format, T is a value. And I like him to score more points than Jamar this year.
I mean, I think that there's a real chance that happens. I think you didn't even bring up the fact that I think at the end of the year, the splits got even more in favor of T. I think after maybe it was after the bye or something, but Jamar was very inconsistent there at the end of the year, and T really kind of was showing up every single week, balling out. So I think there's a real shot. T is a monster, just as Jamar is a monster. They are both great receivers in this league. I don't want to put a number on it, but they're beasts. And there's a real chance. I mean, I just think the touchdowns, in my opinion, is probably a little sticky for Jamar. I think Jamar is probably just going to score a lot of touchdowns in his career, especially with Joe Burrow. But that's just a feeling, not necessarily anything else. So there's a real chance they're both going to be alphas this year, and especially if the number 1 is always on Jamar, and most teams don't have a 2 that's anywhere near as good as their 1 in terms of cornerbacks. So T could just absolutely go off against some scrubs. So I could see it. Who knows? I like it.
Yeah, the only reason I didn't bring up the second half of the year is because Jamar had that 55-point game in the second half.
Well, T had a 44-point game in the playoffs. I mean,
week 16, 43 points from T. Week 17, 55 points.
Oh shit! Oh, that's right. Yeah, it was week 17. Yeah. Hey, shout out Jamar.
No, I mean, Josh, I actually agree with you strongly on this one. Just from my own mental stock of these two players, to me that it's not even that bold. I understand why it's bold against the narrative because Jamar is like this darling. But yeah, no, I love T. And also, wasn't T playing hurt like a good chunk of the year too with that? Wasn't he have like a shoulder problem? And I don't think he was 100%.
He missed week 3 and 4. I'm assuming because of the shoulder problem, and then he also
Yeah.
missed week 18. That was probably just rest.
Yeah, but I think it was like some nagging problem too. I don't think he was like quite maybe I'm wrong on this, but I kind of remember him just having some recurring issues as well. And I mean, with Jamar, he's obviously the more electric athlete. He's going to get you those 55-point games, But T to me is just the more traditional, like standard. I don't want to say floor because I feel like floor has a negative connotation to it.
Standard
His floor is like
Stud.
high though. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
While Jamar's ceiling is just nuts. So yeah, no, I like this. I like this a lot.
Yeah, it's not that bold, Josh. Get more
Yeah,
bold.
I'm
Come
sorry.
on.
It's the narrative. People are so
It's
hyped
the
on
narrative.
Jamar.
The narrative's so strong.
I had to temper expectations. Like Jamar's like consensus top 5 pick. So.
The only thing for me is that if T is better than Jamar this year, they're probably both around like the 8 or 9 range rather than like,
you
3
think
and
they
4.
regressed that much?
What was T last year?
Jamar was wide receiver 3. T was wide receiver 24.
Yeah, so yeah.
He missed 3 games.
I mean, yeah, I guess. I don't know. I'd have to look at the actual, I guess, per game split, but I'd still expect them to not to be like 3 and 4 if they were. I'd expect them to be both out of the top 5 rather than both be top 5 if I had to guess if T outscores him. But
hey, the Bengals they shored up their offensive line.
Hey, no, I mean, hey, they're a great offense. They love to throw the ball and they're very concentrated. They could definitely be 3-4. They could be up there, but I don't see it. I think Jamar would be definitely overvalued there. I mean, not that I guess he would be 4 anyway. He's already overvalued at 3, but it's just my thoughts.
There. Well, I think Tyler Boyd will outscore both of them.
Yeah, that's bold.
Right there.
All right, well, let's move on to our final round here of our bold predictions. We'll each give our third one. So, Jared, you want to go ahead and give yours?
Well, I keep leading this off here, so let's make it a third time.
Hey, yours have been the best, so.
Hey, they have, but you're so right, guys. You're so right. All right. So this is my 3. Albert Okwuegbunam, the Denver tight end.
Elite pronunciation.
Yeah, thank you very much, Alberto, as the kids say. I have him finishing as a top 8 tight end. I know that there's about 7 studs, so 8 might not be the boldest of predictions. But I have him out beating guys like Knox, Goddard, and he might even pull an upset of a guy like Hawkinson, or So so Alberto, the reason I have him here, I've kind of changed a little bit of my tune with him recently with the unfortunate injury of Tim Patrick. And so Tim Patrick was the number 3 guy there in Denver, and now he tore his ACL. He's going to be out for the whole year. And Nathaniel Hackett, the new head coach there from Green Bay, he loves his 12 personnel 2 tight end sets. So I don't think that there's a big concern with the rookie Greg Dulcich. Some people are concerned he may come in and take the starting job over Albert O, or take playing time. But there's plenty of opportunity for him to be on the field and for Albert O to remain on the field. And last year, Albert O, he was very good with Noah Fant on the field. Noah Fant was I believe he was a top 12 tight end last year, while Albert O was, taking plenty of time to get on the field, and that was with Teddy Bridgewater as the quarterback. And so with Russell Wilson coming in, Albert O has a real chance to take a step up this year and take a real role in this offense, because now they're going to have to just run, I think, more 12 personnel than they wanted, and they already wanted to run a lot with Nathaniel Hackett coming in. And so I really like Alberto's chances this year. Last year, he only had 40 targets and 33 catches. But he had a decent yards per target at 8.25. And he had a 10 yards per per catch. He actually, he sees the ball downfield, and he's a big target. He's fast. He runs in the 4.4s. He's like 6'5", 250. He's just a monster on the field, and he's going to be reliable, I think, for Russell Wilson, who already likes his tight ends and looks at them very often in the red zone. We've seen that for years now in Seattle, and so I like Albert O this season. It's unfortunate that Tim Patrick misses that time, and that's what really has changed my tune a bit on him. But Albert O has always been a fantastic athlete and primed for a chance, and now I think he's going to get it. So what do you guys think?
Yeah, I really like Alberto. I love this take. I have Alberto on like 2 dynasty teams, so I'm hoping he pops off this year. But yeah, I can see it. He's an insane athlete. They traded away Noah Fant because they feel comfortable with Alberto. So I could definitely see him, especially like he's an insane athlete, so he's going to get the ball a decent amount. I think out of like his yards per route run was like insanely high for a tight end last season. So I'm excited to see what he can do in this Russell Wilson led offense. So I like it.
Yeah, I like it too. I'm not sure if tight end 8's the boldest, like you said, but because like kind of falls off around the 7-8 mark. But
Exactly.
I think Alberto's path to this is a high number of touchdowns. I think he could get like 8, 9, 10 touchdowns, then definitely would hit this mark. And I think that's, on one hand, they got so many mouths to feed over there, with like Sutton, Judy, Javonte, and Melvin, but it kind of runs dry after that, like you said, especially with Tim Patrick going down. So I think there's a strong chance that he does get those red zone targets alongside Cortland Sutton, which would really elevate him. I know that Russell Wilson hasn't really used a tight end too much in his career, so that makes me a little bit hesitant. I mean, that could be the system, it could be to his preference, it could be anything. But
From what I see with Russ is his tight ends always seem to get hurt. Like Will Dissly at the beginning of the year for like 2 years, everybody was real hype on him getting touchdowns and scoring points, and then he gets hurt, and guys like Jacob Hollister step in and start scoring touchdowns. But they definitely haven't gotten the yards that you see out of a lot of quarterbacks. But I think that Albert O is probably faster than any tight end Russ has ever played with in it. And if he can get a mismatch over the middle of the field with a linebacker, he could take off. So, I think there's real chances here for both yards over the middle of the field and then also touchdowns. Like you said, he's 6'5" and 250, so he's a big target. So I like him everywhere.
Actually, Alberto, he profiles actually pretty similarly to Gerald Everett last year, and Gerald Everett saw a ton of targets from Russell Wilson, like over the middle of the field. Like there were some games where Gerald Everett saw like 8, 9 targets, just like over the middle of the field, and would just take it like 6, 7 yards. But yeah, I like Alberto in that sort of style. Actually, my favorite stat or my favorite like tidbit for like this entire Denver group is Nathaniel Hackett. I mean, you brought him up briefly, but Nathaniel Hackett, he was the Green Bay, I think, quarterbacks coach the past 2 years, maybe OC, but I think he was the quarterbacks coach. But before that, he was actually with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and Blake Bortles' QB3 season was with Nathaniel Hackett as the offensive coordinator. So I'm excited to see Nathaniel Hackett do his work with Russell Wilson, because he's had Aaron Rodgers be like the QB1 the last 2 seasons. He had Blake Bortles as the QB3 the season before that. So Russell Wilson, QB1. I don't know.
Hey, I didn't know that. I mean, if you could make Blake Bortles have a QB3 overall season, he might be the QB whisperer, the GOAT. Shit, that's crazy. I know, and originally I wanted to put him tight end 7. I wanted to kick out a guy like Schultz, or like maybe even Hawkinson. But I decided to go a little less bold and stick with tight end 8.
And one thing about Albert O that I just learned, I mean, he's 6'5", 260, so he's got great size. He ran a 4.49.
Yeah, he's insane.
Yeah, I told you he ran the 4.4s, bro. He's fast.
Insanely athletic.
I don't know if I did you say that and pick up on you saying that? That's crazy. That's insane.
Yeah.
That's cool. I want to put him in run. He should be a running back. That'd be so fun.
A 6'6" running back.
That runs a 4.4. That runs a 4.4. That'd be crazy.
Get
But
him
yeah,
over the field across with a linebacker. Who's catching
yeah.
him? Nobody.
And I do like Greg Dulcich a little bit. I could see him getting some of that time too, but again, rookie tight
He's a
ends.
rookie, yeah, rookie tight
Yeah,
end.
Plenty of
can't really
12
be that
personnel
concerned about that.
sets, you know.
Yeah,
Fine.
yeah. Okay, Alberto, let's do it.
Love it.
All right, I'll move into my final board prediction here. We've gone from the biggest of NFL players to the smallest of NFL players. I have Tutu Atwell will become a wide receiver 4.
Okay.
He will become
Yeah.
So he's gonna
wide
be a
receiver
top 48
4.
wide receiver.
That is my statement.
Wow.
He'll
So
see
It's
bold.
not the
field
most
this year.
it's not the most exciting prediction. I get that. It's there have been more exciting things said in this world, but let me get into the Tutu Atwell hype that is building. So we know Tutu Atwell, second round pick on the Rams last year, didn't do a single thing at all last year. Half the year he was hurt. He returned like a handful of kicks, handful of punts. And the primary reason for this is that he is small. At the combine, he was 5'9", 149.
149.
Wait, he weighed 149 at the combine?
149 at the
He weighed in at
combine.
149.
149.
Jesus.
He is tiny. So yeah, super small. Now though,
Wow.
now though, he's listed at 165. So he's put on some good weight. To put that in perspective, Deshaun Jackson was 169 pounds. So it's clearly been done. I mean, he could definitely put on some more weight if he continues to. And he's got like some sort of frame. He's just incredibly frail. So I'm hoping that he continues to put on that weight. Anyway, so some of his information about him in college. He broke out at 18 years old in college in the 91st percentile, was an early declare, 31.3% target share in the 93rd percentile in college. So he clearly produced in college, dynamic athlete. Now, the Rams took him in the second round. So clearly they saw something there. It's not like, they didn't like not notice he was like very small and then drafted them or like, oh shit, this guy's tiny. That's not what happened. They knew that he was a smaller guy and they drafted him with that knowledge. So they have some sort of plan here. I'm curious to see how they end up utilizing him now that he's a bit bigger. He's put on some weight. In training camp, they've already, all the reports are saying that he's doing a great job, especially with Van Jefferson being out. So he's been getting those wide receiver 3 snaps. He's been getting those looks. Him and Ben Skoranek, and Ben Skoranek is terrible, just terrible. I'm just, I think there's some opportunity there, if he's able to emerge as some sort of gadget like player, which I think is what they drafted him to be. Because, like, I don't know, like, I literally Googled today, why did the Rams draft Tutu Atwell? I couldn't find something that was a very specific search, but they knew he was small. So they must have had some sort of plan. And I'm curious if their plan is they're like, hey, our running game has not been great. How can we move the ball in high effectiveness but short yardage situations? I'm wondering if they're thinking that Tutu Atwell could be the answer for that, while he also exhibits some skill as a deep threat, because that was a specialty of his in college, getting those 50-plus yard touchdown receptions. So I'm curious to see how that all plays out. I mean, he did well in college. He played, and it wasn't like he went to some like small school. He played a Power 5 conference at Louisville, and he did tremendously there. Second round pick. They know he's small. There is some sort of greater plan at work here. And also, just lastly, out of pure vanity from Sean McVay. He strikes me as the guy who doesn't want to whiff completely on a pick, and he's going to give him the chance to do well. And now that he's gained weight, I think that there is some sort of chance that that he could fulfill this role that they drafted him to be, showing off that just the quickness because he is small, and finding ways to. I saw one quote from the wide receiver coach when they drafted him saying that they need to figure out how to get the ball in his hands. And I think that's what they spent the last year doing, building up his size. And this year they're like, okay, we got this dynamic athlete who's a bit small. We now are able to scheme getting him the ball. So that's my take on Tutu Atwell. I think there's a chance that this happens. I'm curious to hear y'all's thoughts.
I mean, like, yeah, there's a chance. Wide receiver 48, that's not like the highest threshold. I I like his name. I like how his full name is Chatarius Atwell. Goes by
That's
Tutu.
tough. That's tough.
Chatarius, yeah, that is tough. But he's super tiny. He played in 8 games last year, had 0 receptions for 0 yards, 0 targets.
A blank slate.
Complete
That's
blank
tough.
slate. Earned a small handful of snaps early on in the season, blanked it the rest of the year. I don't know. It's, in my opinion, it's all just talk right now. This kind of reminds me of Andy Isabella a little bit. Andy Isabella was also a 2nd-round pick. Andy Isabella was a super productive college athlete. Andy Isabella was super fast. Like Cliff Kingsbury was like, we got to get Andy Isabella the ball. He's going to be like a dynamic athlete. We just got to find him. We got to find ways to scheme him the ball. Next season, Andy Isabella was in the doghouse all year, didn't see anything. So I kind of envision a similar path for Tutu Atwell, but maybe he put in like a ton of work in the offseason. Maybe he's able to find his way onto the field. It is tough to see a path since they do have Cooper Kupp. They have Allen Robinson. They have Van Jefferson, Tyler Higbee, Cam Akers, Darrell Henderson. Who's their wide receiver for right now? Is it Skowronek?
Yeah.
It would be him or Atwell. That's why I think he'd be more of a gadget-like player. I don't think he's going to fit in the traditional wide receiver-like set.
I don't know. I mean, the wide receiver 48 is still like 50 catches and like 700 yards. Like, and that's I'm skeptical.
I meant wide receiver 48 in dynasty value, not in actual production. Just to clarify.
Okay, like he's still gonna have to get like at least 500 yards, like at least, and then what? Like I guess Van Jefferson would have to leave for him to like be like 48 or something like that, whatever. But
I don't know why they drafted him.
That high, it really doesn't make any sense. I don't ever bet on guys his size, 140 whatever pounds. I mean, that's horrible.
They drafted him for a reason, though. There has to be a reason.
There has to be a reason. A lot of guys are drafted, and a lot of times there aren't. So it happens. I don't see it. I guess a wide receiver 48 is like, I mean, it's not even bold, so I'm not even going to dignify it with an answer. It's get out of here.
Tutu's brother, he saw something. He saw Sean McVay coming out of his mistress's home. So in order to keep Tutu quiet, Tutu's brother quiet, he had to draft Tutu in the 2nd round.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm just like really curious because, like, I mean, his biggest problem is that he's small, which is, it's not something you can hide. It's not like, like he just can't compete against NFL defensive backs. Like, it's like he's just small. So like
has he proven that he can compete against NFL backs?
Oh no, I meant that like other players. No, that's not what I meant. I meant that other players might have that issue, and that's why they're not good. But that's tough to perceive going from college to the NFL. I meant that his problem was very perceptible, and like you could perceive what his problem was. So I'm wondering what their plan was when they drafted him. And so since that plan's not been like realized yet, I'm wondering if it still has to come to fruition.
Guys like Johnny Manziel get drafted in the 1st round, and the teams think they have plans, and then these guys are just bad players. And there's never been a guy at 150 pounds that's been good. I can't imagine. So 5'9", 165.
He's 165 now.
Maybe he's got a shot. But if even Deshaun Jackson was 169, I mean, I need a few extra pounds because Deshaun did not look big out there. That's scary.
All right, well, let's move past Tutu Atwell. Poor guy's just getting made fun of left and right here. Let's hope he's not listening. But Josh, you want to get into your last pick?
Yeah. My last hot take, bold prediction, is that Jameis Winston will throw for 5,000 yards this season.
I almost did Jameis Winston. I was close to it.
I thought you were going to do Olave, but Jameis, that makes it. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, Jameis will throw for 5,000 yards this season. My big, there's two reasons why I think Jameis will do this. First off, he's done it before. Back in Tampa, threw for 5,000 yards, 33 touchdowns, 30 interceptions. We all remember that season. On top of that, the Saints offensive coordinator is Pete Carmichael. He's actually been with the Saints since 2007. Drew Brees was obviously a very prolific quarterback there, and was super good as a passer. Sorry about those rings. I need to mute this chat. Sorry
Jesus.
about that.
Dinging.
Yeah, really dinging.
Jameis Winston's being like, "Thanks, bro. Appreciate you."
I think that'll do it. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. But okay, let me back up. Pete Carmichael is the offensive coordinator for the Saints. He's been there since 2007. Drew Brees threw for over 4,800 yards 7 times. I think that the offense, what they're saying out of training camp right now, they're opening it up a ton. They're going to run a ton of 3 wide receiver sets. They're going to completely open up the offense. They had Jameis a little bit kept in check last season. They ran the ball a ton. Jameis threw the ball like 25 times a game in the 7 games that he did play. He had a 5-2 record as a starter last year. So like he was a good quarterback. He was taking those steps. He got LASIK eye surgery. So now he can actually see apparently. So I like Jameis to go.
That's huge.
That's the biggest part.
Huge for the quarterback position.
he can see his receivers finally. He's got all the arm talent in the world. So like he was able to complete the pass just like half the time it was to the cornerback. But I really expect him to make the step. So Jameis Winston, 5,000 yard season. He's got Michael Thomas. He's got Chris Olave. He's got Jarvis Landry. He's got Alvin Kamara. Lock it in.
Yeah, I love Jameis personally. I mean, not just for his on the field, but off the field antics as well. But I love to watch him, sling it around there on the field and throw it to both teams. The only caveat I think Jameis is well, first of all, I think he rolled his ankle today, which sucks.
They said it was actually a foot injury, not an ankle. So I don't really know what that means.
Yeah,
Okay.
they don't expect it to be anything much.
All right. Well, we'll see. But I've seen that he's still like a little bit unsure. Like he's not like fully confident again in his leg coming off the ACL. So I think it's probably going to take him probably a few games to get used to it, back into the groove and connecting with everybody. But if Olave can, take that time that he needs to step up, and Michael Thomas returns to very good form, not elite, peak Michael Thomas form, but returns to very, very good Michael Thomas form, and then Juice, keeps doing his thing. Jameis can sling that ball in 5,000 yards. You've seen him do it. So I like Jameis to ball out. I like the Saints. I think the Saints are a good team. I think the Saints defense probably prevents him from getting 5,000 because, he barely threw over 5,000 in Tampa, and it was because he had to just keep slinging it because he kept turning the ball over, and they had like the worst quarters of all time in Tampa. They just were giving up. They were giving up touchdowns. No, but they were giving up touchdowns like left and right to like easy stuff. Like their corners were horrible that year, and he just had to keep airing it out. So I mean, Jameis has the ability to throw for 5,000, but I think the defense is going to have to be worse in order for them to get there.
Okay, that's fair. That's a fair point. I actually didn't consider that. I mean, I guess their division rivals were who? They got Carolina, they got Atlanta, they got
who they're just going to destroy. I mean, that's 4 games they destroy those guys, and they probably don't have to throw the ball that much. And then obviously against Tampa, that's going to be shootouts, probably more than likely if they can keep up. But yeah.
No, I like this. I like this. I have a couple things to add, just because Jameis has the great arm talent, so he's gonna be able to throw it downfield, which is helpful for yards. I think that the Saints are going to realize that running the ball last year wasn't the best for them all the time, and that Kamara wasn't the most efficient with it. So I think that's important too. And just the wide receiver talent is just really great. The offensive line's always good. Got some good organizational stability with the Saints. A couple more things I'll add is that I sent the link of the live stream to my dad, and he just texted me, "No way that happens." So I think that's the most important piece of information here. Also, I don't know if y'all are aware of this, but there's this book on Amazon called Jameis Winston Derangement Syndrome: How Media Bias Causes Us to Overlook the Start of a Hall of Fame NFL Career.
Hey, he's a Hall of Famer.
It's 404 pages. So if
New York
y'all want
Times
me
bestseller.
I think so. I think it's well on its way. So
I think he had like the most yards to start a career. I bet that's when to start. Like, I bet he did.
Yeah.
To, like,
No, they have a whole like list of things here. He had the only quarterback to start his career with back-to-back 4,000-yard seasons. So I think Herbert's surpassed that now. So
Yeah.
Justin Herbert, future Hall of Famer as well.
Jameis Winston.
Yeah, the Jameis Winston path. I don't know if that's what we want for him.
But yeah, no, I could see this take happening, and Jameis has that arm strength, and again, Olave, Landry, Thomas, especially if Michael Thomas can come back and be like some sort of viable option, I like it.
Yeah, I think so. Do we have any more hot takes, or I think we're wrapping it up? That's all for season 8, episode 8.
Season 8, let's
Yeah.
go.
We did it. We're balling, guys. Hey, and the season's about to start in a couple of weeks. We might have to change up the routine, come on more often for the fans.
I can't believe that the NFL season is almost here. It's crazy.
I'm excited. Preseason.
Yep. Keep joining us as we keep talking us through the preseason. Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you all.